Hi and welcome back to My Physics Teacher by Mr. Cannon. By the end of this video we will have reviewed contact and non-contact forces, what they are and examples of both types of force. Right at the end, stick around for some example flashcards so that you can focus your revision. We'll start off by reviewing scalar and vector quantity definitions from the previous video. As a reminder, scalar quantities just have a magnitude, a size or a number only, whereas vector quantities have both a magnitude and a direction, shown with an arrow. Definition of a force, so that's a push or a pull that acts on another object due to the interaction with another object. So a contact force is a force that acts when objects are physically touching. We'll look at some examples shortly. Whereas a non-contact force, that's a force that acts when objects are not physically touching. Probably the most obvious contact force would be friction, so when two objects rub together and we can feel some heat. And a couple of other contact forces such as air resistance, often forgotten about because that's when air particles are colliding with you. Tension and also a normal contact force, so when you stand up there's a force, the weight pulling you down, but in the ground the normal contact force is pushing you up. An example of a non-contact force would be a gravitational force, so that's why the ball falls down to the earth. Electrostatic forces, so that's an example of lightning. And the third non-contact force is magnetic force, so we'll look at an example of that in a moment. So contact force examples, that's when objects physically touch, and non-contact forces, that's when you don't need to touch. So bottom left we have a diagram where the cyclist is moving at a constant velocity and we need to match the letter to the force. So if we look at A, we've got the weight pulling down and then with the ground it's a normal contact force pushing up. B, we're going forward, so we've got air resistance pushing us back, and with the ground we have friction with the tyre and the road. And finally we've got a question here, do they attract or repel? So we've got two north poles, magnetic forces, same poles repel, so opposite attracts, so this one would definitely repel. On to the last bit where I suggest you make some flashcards. So we've got a contact force on the front and then suggested writing for the back. So a force that acts when objects are physically touching. So some examples, tension, air resistance, friction, and that normal contact force. And the second example, non-contact force. So that's when a force is not touching, and there's three examples of that: magnetic, gravitational, and electrostatic. Thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed, don't forget to share, like, and subscribe for future videos. See you next time.